Well, good morning, everybody. This is dear Mama Sal on a very pretty looking Tuesday morning. It is 11 degrees here in southern British Columbia, and that makes it 51 and translated into American. So it's pleasant. I see some big clouds that look like they could be rain clouds. Oops. Perhaps I should have listened to the weather forecast. But I'm under blue skies, which is what I saw when I looked out of the window. We now have 3 more sleeps until vacation time. And I know that Alice is probably on her way by now, so by the time I get this video up anyway. So bon voyage to Alice. And it really is getting quite exciting. We are that's interesting. Those dark clouds are only to my left, but they're moving that way right to where I work. Okay. Of course, where else would they be going? I can handle that. Now, the other thing I realized is I forgot to... I put my Mood Matcher lipstick on this morning, which I use as a base for everything, and then I forgot to put the other bits on. Luckily, I carry spare stuff at work, so it'll be a case of how long will the Mood Matcher last today, because I think all I've got at work is lip gloss. I don't have lipstick. Never mind. I am naturally gorgeous. Alright, a couple of subjects today, and one of them is probably going to surprise you. And it was a statement that I made in the kitchen on Saturday when I was cooking for people to come and visit, as you know. And what I actually said, it came about because Yvonne was telling me, you know, it's so obvious that you love to cook. And I said, actually, I hate to cook. Now, that probably surprises some of you. Let me explain myself. Now, I finished the sentence with, but I love to experiment with food. You see, my kid likes to play. So the kid loves to experiment with food, because if you're experimenting, it doesn't matter what it turns out like. You have fun all the way through it, right? It's all the and you've seen me with the when we're doing the Sal and Hal stuff. You know how excited I get. Now that to me is good fun. It's not cooking. It's fun. When I'm using my George Foreman in a different way, I did waffles on it one day. I must admit, what did I do one day? I did like a breakfast omelette on it one day, on a George Foreman. Yeah, right. So, you know, those sort of things to me are fun. It's not really cooking, it's like playing with food. And so that was the whole thing. I hate to cook, but I love to experiment with food. And so the question was, why do I have this in my brain that I hate to cook? Which was the question that everybody asked, because it's obvious to other people that I love to cook. And I said, well, it has to do, and doesn't it always, it has to do with my mother. And maybe my sister as well, I don't know, because they are both, my mom was an extremely accomplished cook, and my sister is as well. And so therefore, if I were to be a cook, then I would have to come up to their standards. And quite honestly, I never will. And that's okay. So that was why it was a real shock to me when people started to react when I put cooking stuff up. Because I did it for amusement, not for in all seriousness. Get it? So it's been really interesting that the cooking videos, are amongst my most popular videos. And I'm going, wow, who knew? So it makes me think that maybe I'm not the only one that doesn't like to cook. And maybe there is room for me to play with food and still have relevance. Think about that. Now, why is that important? Well, the reason it's important is because it's all in the presentation to my mind. We know that things don't cause you to be upset. It's our processing of things, right, that cause us to be upset. So for some reason, there's a disconnect in my mind between cook and sell. And there's like a void, a dirty great chasm that is between those two words in my mind. And as I don't have the great Luanda, or whatever his name is, Willanda, what is his name? The guy that walks across on the tightrope with his balance beam. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can think of more fun things to get an erotic experience than to do that. Really? How can anybody do that for fun? Hello, I'm just going to risk my life one more time. We both know that eventually I'm going to lose, but in the meantime, here I go. Anyway, so to me, it is all about the relationship in my mind between the word cook and sell. And they are not linked. Doesn't matter how many nice comments you make, they are still not linked. Actually, for a moment there, I almost said, maybe I am. You see, that was it. Maybe I am. So, but I'd rather be the kid, as you know. The kid in me is the fun bit of me. So I was wondering whether maybe I'm not the only one that has that disconnect between two words. And if you have a disconnect, talk about it, because what happens is when we talk about it, we give freedom for other people to talk about it. And part of our role here as Dear Mama Sal peeps is that we can talk about things that most people don't. And that's, as you know, a real base for what we're doing here, is to try and talk about stuff because people don't talk about that. I know that Manon would be the first one to tell you that there is a monumental disconnect between the word bedroom and tidy. We have that in common. And that's okay. And the only time that those two words get anywhere near each other is when we get to the point where we actually embarrass ourselves. It's so bad. Manon, in case you're listening, I'm climbing over stuff in my bedroom at the moment. I have so many things on the floor. Because I know that those shoes need to go into the case, and so there's stuff in all sorts of funny places. There's things hanging over chairs. I mean, it really is quite funny if you could see it. And only half of it will get to the suitcase, we know that. And then I will still forget stuff. So where's your disconnect? And for some of us, we have many. Some of us have many disconnects. I can't help thinking that I had a huge disconnect between kindness and men for a long time, because my experience was men hurt not men kindness. Now, I know that's pretty dramatic for this time of the morning, but I have to admit that that was a major disconnect for me for quite a long time. And I think it's part of the reason that I get emotionally out of shape when I meet my friend's boyfriend, because he's such a kind man. You know, he's not, oh, he's anything but a wimp. He's sort of military. But he's a kind man, or does a good job of faking it. Really good job. So, and I don't think it's fake at all. I think it is. I think he's a very thoughtful, very rational. Sorry, I've just seen. You might see it over here in a minute. There's a pickup truck that's got some huge bushes, you know, sort of mini skyscrapers on the back of it. And it just looked so funny. It was like, hello, I'm traveling with my own forest. That's exactly what it looked like. Anyway, where was I? Disconnects, yeah. So, and I think the reason that I get upset when I'm around him is he messes with my disconnect. And worse than that, he's doing kind things for me. Makes it even worse. You know, it really messes with my disconnect, you see. And so it touches my soul. You know, I don't have those two things linked anymore. Ah, Lord. Anyway, so let me know if you are aware of any disconnects, and if you are, try and work out why they're disconnected. Right, there's good reason why you've got a disconnect. So you might wonder, why is there a disconnect between my bedroom and tidy? I can tell you exactly why there's a disconnect. I have a door. It is possible to close the door on the mess. Now, that's why I'm inclined to keep my public rooms a lot more tidy. And very sparse, you've probably noticed. Except they're little corners of total chaos. Yeah. So always look at these things. Well, don't always look at them, but you know, every now and then revisit the disconnect. Now, some of us got disconnects about what we are capable of doing. For example, my number one reaction to hearing that we were going to go on the big Ferris wheel was not polite in my mind. There were a couple of words that meant go away. But you know, I then overrode those words and went, wow, can you imagine the view? That's obviously why they built it. And then I was really doing well on it, because I thought, well, I'll be amongst friends, so it won't be an issue. And then when I was talking about it the other day on the broadcast, I found out that there are like 40 people that you are caged up with. Now that's a different story. If somebody, now I think the reason I have a problem with that is my sister is claustrophobic. And I mean screaming, hab-dab type claustrophobic. And I got caught one day when I was visiting her in an enclosed space. It was a funicular railway thing, one of those things that crawls up the side of a hill. And she lost it. And, you know, it's very scary. And I don't know if any of you have ever been trapped in an elevator. I have. And I know that the number one thing everybody's going to do is panic. Well, let me rephrase that. That's what they're doing inside. Some people will cover it really well. And so when I got trapped in the elevator, the first thing I did was I said, I remember it now, we were somewhere between the 19th floor and the ground. Now, I think I opened with the words, "You're probably wondering why I called this meeting." Well, the reason was I needed your full attention. And I must admit that the three other people in the in the elevator did burst out laughing. And I went, "Oh, well, that's a good start. Let's keep laughing, because I got news for you. The alternative is that we will try and work out how many floors have we gone down and how many, they're between us and and mush. And so therefore, let's keep laughing if we can." I said that we all know intellectually, as this is obviously, we hit the button, and we found the phone thing and made sure they knew that we had a problem. I said, so let's just not concentrate on that, because now, if there's anybody else other than myself that immediately has a problem, like, but what if I need to pee? That would be my next thought. Immediately, what am I carrying with me just in case? How many plastic bags have I got? But it's just like the funny things that go in your mind, or through your mind, when you get into a possible scenario. So here I am, still thinking about the big wheel. And, the interesting thing was, I don't know why, but sharing a little gondola thing with a few people wasn't nearly as scary for me as sharing it with 40 people. Because the chances, the odds of somebody in 1 in 40 having a problem is far greater than 1 in 3, for example, or 1 in 6. Just like the numbers game. So, however, I'm still going to go. I'm going to challenge myself. I'm still going to go. Now, the next bit of thing that I want to talk about, which isn't necessarily fun, no, it isn't fun, there's nothing fun about it, was something I heard on the news. And I think this guy came from Iowa, which has been obviously in the news quite a bit recently. But he came from Iowa, and he's presently in court, and they're not happy with him. And let me explain to you why, and then let's have a little chat about that. He's in court for having sex with his wife. And I'm certain all of you are going, yeah, so? But hang on a second. His wife she's passed apparently, had dementia. And the issue is, her dementia was at such a level that the doctors had documented that she was no longer capable of making her own decisions. Ipso facto, which is the upmarket way of saying so, ipso facto, she was not able to agree to have sex. She could not give her consent to have sex. Therefore, I'm not sure who took this issue to court, but this man is in court for having sex with his wife. I can't remember what his reasoning was, probably the same as some other ones that we've heard in the past, which it was for her mental health. I don't know what excuse he gave. But I'm going, wow. Now, here's the reason I want to mention it. Somewhere in that conversation, the news person, reporter, said, because this has now become an issue, we might all want to have a look at our living wills or whatever piece of paper, whatever advice you give, and I would put it in writing. I would have it documented somewhere that if you lose your mental capacity and have been deemed to be incapable of your own ability to make rational decisions, then do you or do you not wish to continue to have sex with your husband or wife? Now, it might be more difficult the other way around now that I think about it. But I just thought I'd put that out there. The suggestion was that we might want to mention that. Now, I know some of you are chuckling, because you're probably saying, hey, I don't know why I can hear people saying to me, hey, Sal, I don't even want to have it and I'm healthy. I'm sorry, I don't know why I can hear that in my head, but I can. But isn't that interesting that that I would never have thought of that? But next time I revise my information, I'm actually going to add a clause in there. Now, I know others of you are saying, well, I mean, my husband would never dream of doing that. Which is why he's still my husband. And, he's actually not a Neanderthal. But I thought I would just put it out there because it's worth thinking about, isn't it? So that's a pretty important couple of things. Disconnect and living wills. I think the fun one is the disconnect. And I would encourage you all, when you're thinking about disconnect, just, the big chasm between two words that normally would be linked. I would encourage you to keep your sense of humor. See how many amusing disconnects you've got. Don't go and beat up on yourself for them. We've all got them. For goodness sake, don't think you're the only one that's got them. We just might be the only people that talk about them, or amongst a very select few, which is why we're not normal. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and watch out for your disconnects, and if you can, just jot them down so that you can be amused by them later. This is Dear Mama Sal saying bye-bye for now.